Welcome, Weevils, Gods of Death, and Hospital Patients, to episode 445 of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 5th of April 2022, and featuring Dead Man Walking, written by Matt Jones, and starring John Barrowman as Jack Harkness, Eve Miles as Gwen Cooper, Bern Gorman as Owen Harper, Naoko Mori as Toshiko Sato, Gareth David-Lloyd as Yanto Jones, Freema Agyeman as Martha Jones, and featuring a cameo by Kai Owen as Reese Williams. I am Bill Sylvia, the one in black, and ordering Taco Bell seemed a lot more appealing when I thought that it would still be hot when it got here. With me are Randy Ronson McCulloch,
COVID problems.
Alex Fireheart,
Oh, God, I feel like I had a joke, but it's gone. Oh well.
and Mad Matt Winchell.
Booze is for healing.
Ugh. So I meant, when I said what I said in the opening, problems that occurred during the COVID crisis. Oh, I've ordered food, but I got here and it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what a microwave is for.
Micro-
Although, hard shell tacos and
Microwaves
don't.
really are hit or miss when it comes to warming food.
I was gonna say everything from Taco Bell is usually a mixture of hot and cold ingredients. So if you microwave them all at once, like a bean burrito that comes out fine, but like anything more complicated and it's at best going to taste like shit. I'd rather eat it at room temperature most of them.
True, there's a lot of stuff I actually do order from there that's actually microwavable, like the quesadillas.
Ah, that's fair. But yeah, I think my big flaw was forgetting that even though it's not that cold today, rain is still going to fuck up the temperature of food that's kept in a paper bag.
It was actually nice out today here.
Well, yeah, today was in a nice high 40s with no rain.
But now, how's everybody's week been? That's probably been better than mine.
Too bad. In my case, I started back at work on the weekend and then found out when I was and it was weird because it was surprisingly very full on yesterday, and then my current boss brought up, it's like, oh, welcome back to the school holidays, and I'm like, oh. I took a month off and just happened to come back when it's getting busy.
I forget, why did I have to miss out on work last week? Or miss out on stream last week? Because I did miss last week, I recall.
Oh, the stream?
I think it was you were just
you were
tired. Falling asleep. Yeah.
You kept falling asleep trying to watch the episode or something.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
No, it was so yeah, I was the end of my 7-day week of work, and I was literally just completely bottoming out.
Yeah.
I gotten shit sleep the last couple days, and yeah, I was just crashing, literally just being at home. All right. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what was going on because it wasn't work that was in the way. But
work
yeah,
was
since
still
then,
the issue,
so
but it was more.
I get asked, when was this? So I was not originally signed up for Thursday? Yeah, so I was not originally signed up for Thursday. So I get asked on Wednesday if I could come in. I already had laundry in, so no, the answer was no. Because my entire uniform is in the wash. But then they asked me to come in Thursday because one of my coworkers apparently has now had COVID round 2.
Oh, joy.
Coincidental fact, she was back today already. Yeah, she literally said that the worst day was just like the day I had to replace her.
Mm.
But just in case, they gave her the full 5 days off anyways, which meant I also had to work yesterday for her. But
Makes
as I
sense.
was working Thursday for her, not only did I get called in to come in on Monday, but also like a half hour to an hour after being home, I get another phone call at home. Our chicken cook suddenly vomited twice within an hour, which means he can no longer be near the food, which means that one of the
Right.
other clerks had to go in and replace him, but that also meant that somebody needed to come in to replace that clerk. Guess who was the only one that picked up the phone? Mm,
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
twice.
This is why after a decade I started hesitating before picking up the phone. Yes, it took me 10 years to learn the lesson. Shut up.
Well, when I saw my boss on Monday, she gave me a $20 gift card for coming in like that. And that coworker that got sick that day is replacing me tomorrow. So I can at least get a day off. Otherwise, it's going to be 6 days in a row because of all the extra days.
I mean, she's not still throwing up.
You literally are turning into Dante, aren't you?
And that coworker, by the way, is now asking to possibly get transferred to another store because he's been having issues with the management. He's been making requests that at least we get more staff in there because we can avoid stuff like happened on Thursday, but not happening fast enough, so he's done.
Happens every week since you've been hired.
No. Not every week do I get called in twice for one day. That was a double shift, my friend. And should not have happened if we had enough people and if not everyone was busy all the dang time. But yeah, basically we're way too understaffed and he's getting sick and tired of us being way too understaffed. So he's going to move to another store, which means we're going to be understaffed.
I still remember the time I was transferred to a new restaurant and they had been working understaffed for like a month already. And then after I worked my ass off to hire people, one day one of the new people didn't show up. So literally 3/4 of the night, everybody on the night team who wasn't brand new quit on the same day because they were tired of working understaffed.
I can see that. It's barely keeping on. We literally got like 2 new people in the last 2 weeks.
But that's
Actually, no,
also
3
when
new
we
people
learned
in the last 2 weeks. But yeah,
that's also when we learned the lesson not to have 3 brothers working the same shift every day. Because that's what the person who had hired them decided to have to do.
Lordy. No, that's asking for trouble. Either way. But yeah. So that's been my work week. Otherwise, I finished a couple of things, which I'll be talking about later, and got some more stuff done. Been trying to keep up at least one song a week for my music stuff on YouTube, and so far been holding on. We'll see. That's been my roughly 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've got nothing special. I've been busy with the same shit that I'm always busy with. I gave a stats tutorial today, which is always my busiest weeks of teaching because it takes me twice as much prep work. Other than that, things have been pretty much going the same way they've been going. Yeah. And Moon Knight, which is a trip, and yeah, we'll see how that series ends up going.
All right. Alex, anything for you for the past week?
Pretty much just going back to work, really. And like, the kind of funny thing was, I'm realizing now that the aircon in my room is so fucking loud that unless I've like got a decent amount of, well, even if like if I'm comfortable enough, I can basically just sleep right through my alarm if I've got the aircon on, because the aircon is so fucking loud that it's louder than my friggin' alarm. So, like, I woke up before work yesterday, like a half hour before I would have to absolutely have been gone to get there on time. And I was like, so I had slept through my alarm for a half hour, and I was like, or at least close to, maybe more like 20, 25 minutes. And I'm just like, oh fuck. Just immediately got up, got ready, left. Like,
So anything about you want to say about my air filters? At least they're not that loud. In fact, I think it's on right now. Yes, it is. And a fan.
No, only time I've ever had anything that loud was when I had the old exhaust fan from my computer that sounded like a jet engine. Or I would be playing a game for half an hour and we'd get a phone call from the neighbors telling us to turn it off. And this is not when we were living in an apartment. Oh, but no, my week has not only been dealing with these two little shits that we got last week.
Oh, yes.
But apparently, when Erin went up north, she came back with a little bit of a cold that she must have caught from her niece.
Mm.
You know, little 6-year-old kids, germ factories,
Mm-hmm.
carriers.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I have my nephews to congratulate for keeping my immune system up.
But it hit Erin, I think, about Wednesday. And then I'm like, I'm doing okay. Next day it hits me like a frickin' Mack truck. And I'm just like, And Erin's like, she had to call into work on Friday. She managed to go, I think, Wednesday and Thursday. But she had to call in sick on Friday, and I'm feeling like trash. And
Oh yeah, I should actually mention, because that one coworker came back today, she was literally constantly like, I'm so sorry. If there's any day I can pick up for you, I'm like, I'm fine right now. I'm good. I'm already getting one day picked up for me.
But yeah, it was so bad yesterday I could not stay conscious. If this podcast had been yesterday, I would not have made it. I was just like, I need to get up, get some food. I'll get up in 2 hours later. Yeah, I should probably 3 hours later. Yeah, it was that bad. And the thing is, whenever I'd wake up, I would feel absolutely wiped. I would still feel, absolutely like,
Yeah.
It was taking, just getting up and going to the bathroom was taking all my stamina. Ugh. I'm better today, but not by much. And that's while trying to deal with these little shits that have learned they can climb anything. Erin's called me twice to extract the smaller one from the top of the drapes in the living room. And I have watched that same one climb up to the very tip top of our closet, where we have things very awkwardly placed. And that cat has surfed down falling linen and a sleeping bag this morning.
Whee!
Not to mention, they wake me up at ungodly hours of the morning, like, shortly after dawn, with their penchant of cat racing and wrestling.
Yes, they do.
Yep. I was watching it this morning and laughing my ass off because I had slept so much yesterday. When I woke up, I wasn't tired. But just watching them wrestle, and then one of them would roll over on their back for a defensive position, only they rolled a little too far over and fell off the bed. So it was just insane.
I was trying to remember why I didn't remember any extra energy needs when we had two kittens, but then I remembered that's because when they were kittens, they preferred to spend all of their time in my sister's room. So she was probably the one who had to deal with it.
most likely.
Oh. But with all of that, we're just, we're just kind of ragged, So that's why I didn't get my review of Shame stuff done. Is I've barely gotten anything done.
I just binged everything from last week and this week all at once after I got dinner started.
Oh yeah, I was going to do it yesterday, but I couldn't stay conscious.
Went downstairs, set the pizza. Okay, my show's going to be my timer. As soon as it hits the 20-minute mark, we're pausing and going downstairs.
Yeah,
And
I
then
couldn't.
eat
I
for the
couldn't have.
rest of the episode and a half.
I couldn't have even gotten to the pizza stage because I would have fallen asleep before I got up. Anyway, that's our weeks. So on tonight's show, we've got some birthdays. Although it's a weird lot this week. We got a little bit of news. Got some geek talk. Matt has his review of Shame. Yes, I'm a bad boy, and I didn't do mine, as I said.
Shame.
And then we've got our summary, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. So let's get into this, shall we? Birthdays. We've got April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. The 1st is the birthday of Sidney Newman, the creator, who would have been 105, but he died in 1997 at 80. On the 2nd, we have the birthday of Robert Holmes, writer and script editor from 75 to 76. Would have been 96, but died in 1986 at the age of 60. And then on the 3rd, we have the birthday of Peter Howell, theme composer for the 1980 to 85 theme, as well as incidental music here and there throughout the series. He turned 74. So basically, a bunch of old people from the classic series, most of which are dead.
Except for the music writer. Hi.
Yep. So happy birthday, Sidney, Robert, and Peter.
That being said, there's another Peter out there with the same last name that's apparently dead.
You don't need to be in the studios around the asbestos to compose a theme, I assume.
I think
you had to be in a music studio, but not maybe the same acting studio.
Yeah, that was still in the BBC, and that was the whole building that had the asbestos situation. Anyway, speaking of dead, we regret to note that actress June Brown, who played Lady Eleanor in The Time Warrior, has passed away. June Brown was born in 1927 in Suffolk. She was professionally trained at the Old Vic Theatre School in London. She was a British TV regular through the 60s and 70s with bit roles on shows such as Dixon of Dock Green, ITV Television Playhouse, Coronation Street, Zed Cars, General Hospital, The Prince and the Pauper, and The Duchess of Duke Street. It was in 1974 that she was in Doctor Who. It was in 1985 that she started in the role that she became the most famous for. Recommended to the producers by fellow star Leslie Grantham, she joined the cast of EastEnders as Dot Cotton, mother of Nasty Nick Cotton. She continued from 1985 to 1993, and then returned to the series 4 years later. In 2008, she became the first soap actor to carry an episode single-handed, a performance which nominated her for a BAFTA award. She was appointed MBE in the 2008 birthday honors, and then OBE in the 2022 New Year honors, for services to drama and charity. Does that make her actually Dame June Brown? I actually can't remember when the actual title kicks in.
I think it's at the next level, officer or whatever, but I might be wrong.
No, officer is what she is now, or what she was.
I didn't. Never mind. I read the first line. So, officer, she might be.
Anyway, she was married twice. She is survived by her 6 children from her marriage to her second husband, Robert Arnold, who passed away in 2003. So, kind of a British television legend just passed on.
Yeah. And she happened to brace us for at least one story.
Yep. So, we have a trailer for Legend of the Sea Devils out. I've watched it, but it was a bit ago, so I'm not remembering too much about it. But fortunately, we also have a breakdown of what you see in it.
So right off to the images then.
Yep.
The trailer, which was criticized for the 13th Doctor's penchant for yelling out somebody's name followed by what they're famous for.
It is a thing she does all the blade time lately. Whenever there's anyone of history note.
Let's see. We have some shots here of the TARDIS materializing underwater. I think that's the first time that's happened since Legopolis.
First time in a very long while, yes.
Hmm.
And then we've got a sea monster.
Yep,
Yeah, it doesn't look
there's a
like
sea
any
monster.
dinosaur I'm familiar with, unlike most of the Silurians' pets.
Yeah, that looks like just flat out sea monster.
Which means that the Sea Devils have been going into genetic messing about with their creatures. Slow clap.
And there's Dan's attempt to dress like a pirate.
Yeah, I don't know why they went with that one.
He looks like he should be on Lazy Town.
Actually, it just put on me. It looks like he should actually be on the set of the '60s show.
I was saying, even the Doctor makes fun of it, so I think if anything, I mean, it's entirely possible that the actor was just got went on a rampage in the wardrobe closet.
Yeah, like isn't there a line in the trailer specifically where it's like, did Yaz pick that outfit? Did Yaz pick that outfit out for you or something? So it
Yeah,
might have
Yes,
even been
did you
Yaz
dress
throwing
Dan up like
clothes at
this?
him.
Yeah, it's actually
Yeah.
quoted right above the photo. Yep.
Yeah. So it would honestly, that would be a funny gag if it did actually turn out that Yaz gave him those clothes.
Deliberately to make him look like a dumbass.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time.
they
I
do
mean,
have a bit
look
of
at poor Marty in Back to the Future 3. Who dressed you like that, Marty? You did that.
Like that. Given Yaz and Dan's relationship, I could absolutely see Yaz being like, "Yeah, put this on. You look great."
And then we get to see the first picture of the Sea Devil, which we've seen before, but yeah, it's apparently when they first see it.
And she also shouted Sea Devil, although I guess well, I don't know if the classic Doctors would have shouted Sea Devil.
They might have.
A couple of would have.
Or at least said it like, mocks stage silently.
Right.
Yeah.
So now that I see Madam Ching's name in front of me and I can Google it, I can confirm that she is the one who appeared in Pirates of the Caribbean, even though we confirmed, I think, that the time frame should not match up.
Yeah, it shouldn't. But then again, Disney's whole Pirates thing is kind of a weird mashup anyway.
Although that said, from looking at these images and the trailer, I get the impression that they really wanted to do a Pirates of the Caribbean supernatural type story, and for some reason waited until nobody cared anymore.
Well, yeah, I'm wondering the validity of them using a God, my brain just
the
a Jolly Roger.
Oh, the Sea Devils?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering the entire setup for this to begin with, because we literally have Flying Boat.
Yeah, Flying Boat that's doing a Jolly Roger in Chinese waters. And the Jolly Roger was more of a European thing.
Yeah, and the Sea Devils didn't spend much time in Europe.
I mean, all I know is I'm just.
I do admire the fact that so far they seem to be sticking like really close to the original Sea Devils look, to the point that it does look like
Yeah.
masks, but they are much more articulate than they ever used to be.
Hmm.
I'm assuming they're CG, but I can't say for sure as of yet.
I think they're probably a mix.
Probably.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
I could see it being like a mix of just better animatronics than back then. And
I think it might.
No, I think it's just a mix of like rubber masks, and they're using CG to animate them more.
Yeah,
well, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of the alien species, it's like we have a mask so that it's as realistic as possible, but then the mask does not look like a living creature with real eyes, so we put a CGI overlay.
So we retouch it with the CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll like
Yeah.
blue screen out the eyes or something, and then animate it more later.
Hmm. Which
It's
I prefer
actually
that
a very
to just
common tack these days.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Like I'll generally take that over like them having just made the Sea Devils entirely CG or some shit.
Yeah, because that's easily identifiable when they do it that way.
And it's also really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, look at the budget of Guardians of the Galaxy and what they've got. Two things they need to have CGI: the raccoon and the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they have a Marvel budget, and
Yeah.
Doctor Who does not.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has an increasingly smaller budget thanks to the cutbacks at the BBC.
Yeah. It's one of those things in general where like we can say what we will about Chibnall, at least he brought back a more classic look for the Sontarans and is keeping the Sea Devils looking like the Sea Devils.
That is one thing I do. That is one thing I do respect him for.
If only we got him to redesign the Silurians.
He also gave us a.
I never thought the Silurians were that bad. I hated the original Sontarans for them being suddenly shorter
and purple
and blue.
Yeah, both blue and purple. Yeah.
I guess I didn't hate it, but like I've been won over to the fact that like it's just kind of better to make them look more like less human looking.
Yeah, well, with this it makes them look more menacing.
Yeah. Sontarans are supposed to be warriors, and it's really hard to say that with plastic neon-colored armor.
Although, actually, yeah, that's interesting because they retconned the Silurians to be like, actually, they pretty much look like green humans with a mask on. But now we have the Sea Devils, who obviously do not look human at all because they're still using the original design. Unless they're like, oh yeah, this is a mask too.
I highly doubt it because we've seen moving eyes and everything else, and that's a long nut.
Yeah.
Right.
I must admit, it makes them pretty much easily recognizable as from anybody that knows the classic show to oh crap, that's a Sea Devil.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're gonna make these things sword fight is an eyebrow raiser.
Yeah, it looks like they've got like vibroblades or something.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
Seemingly.
I mean, the remake of the Daleks and the Cybermen are still instantly recognizable.
Yeah, there's still enough to those that you know that outline and you instantly know what they are.
Although, talking about Chibnall bringing back classic looks, the Cybermen goes up there as well.
Oh, yeah, true. He did actually bring back a more classic look for them, too.
It was almost like montage classic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, let's take the best bits from each generation of Cybermen and make a new suit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Make a new suit that's instantly recognizable and instantly lovable for almost anyone who's actually liked them at any one point.
Mm-hmm. And then now we've got the classic Sea Devil look. It's just that I give him respect for.
Yeah, at least he knows how to treat monsters. Now, if only he could treat the script with the same amount of respect.
Yes. And then we see a sword fight between the Silurians and this, and all I can think of is George Lucas going to sue somebody.
I very much wonder. I don't remember if we see in the trailer any of the actual fight. I don't think so.
Very quick clips of it.
I guess I shouldn't be too wondering about what the fighting style is going to be like. It's probably going to be just like a traditional Pirates thing, but as long as it's it better not be Jedi flips and shit.
No, it's very quick clips, but it doesn't seem like there's flips. It just generally seems like sword fighting in the stars I've seen.
Oh, I just realized, and hopefully the BBC knows better than to go there. I could imagine if this were made in like the 80s, it would be like, well, they're Chinese pirates, so obviously they're all kung fu masters. But hopefully they don't go that way here.
Oh Lord.
Like they go into wire fu.
Right.
Yeah, that's what he's worried about. I don't think so. I don't think BBC has the budget for that.
I don't know. It's not as expensive as it used to be.
I mean,
I guess it depends on how you do
there's
it.
certain levels of it, because I think Pirates of the Caribbean had a bit of wire fu going on, but it wasn't like to the levels of like the Star Wars prequels, which is what I would be, which is what came to mind when you said George Lucas gonna sue somebody.
No, he's gonna sue somebody because lightsabers.
Yeah, that was the statement.
Well,
But I mean,
feel like it's only if you call
that made me
them,
wonder. I was like, what is the choreography going to be like?
Nah, it doesn't even matter what you call them, Alex. George Lucas was a very mean and hostile man who hated anything that represented even slightly Star Wars.
George Lucas.
He literally told Battlestar Galactica, "You can make your sci-fi show, but don't you damn well dare have any lasers."
Now that said, it wouldn't be George Lucas at this point. It would be the mouse.
True.
Yeah, I know. Actually, the quote I gave was from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. That's there is a scene where they're making the Blunt Man and Chronic movie, and Mark Hamill comes out as the villain, and they get in a lightsaber fight. And the director's looking at this, and I think the director is Chris Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And looks at this, and goes, "George Lucas going to sue someone."
So the funny thing about that is that movie they actually like consulted George Lucas for copyright reasons, and the only restriction he gave them was on what color lightsabers they were allowed and not allowed to use.
No blue, no green, no red.
Actually, that was the colors they were allowed.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because it probably was that. Yeah.
It was, and I mean, it was probably also. Kevin Smith has a lot of respect out there, so, or at least he did.
At least he did.
I think more, if anything, now. Like now he's done directing on things like The Flash and everything.
I beg to differ after what he did to He-Man.
Yeah, he's kind of gotten a reputation as a sellout now.
His original movies seem to do okay, but whenever he touches a series lately, it is absolute trash.
But what I'm saying is, the fact that he was able to just go up to Lucas, I'm doing a Star Wars parody scene in my movie. I want to make sure you're okay with this. It's just make the lightsabers blue, red, or green, and you're fine.
So to get us back on track, I do really like the image here of we see the Sea Devils floating ship next to the actual Chinese ship. And the Sea Devils one, it's really hard to tell, obviously, because it's all rotted and shit. But I think that's a more traditional European
yes, it is.
Pirate ship design. I mean, I don't think a pirate ship is a real thing, but it's what we would expect from European media.
So it might have been a it does. I can't tell actually.
It looks like something I would see out of Sea of Thieves. So
because I'm looking at the sails from what's left of them.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because they're all rotted out and everything. So it may be the same. It might not. Like my first impression was that it was different, but it could be the angle.
I think it's the angle. Because those still look like the angle sails that the Asian uses.
Okay.
But it's hard to tell because they're so tattered.
Yeah.
Right.
And usually, European ships don't use that many masts. They use 3 or 4 tops. And they tend to bring their sails outward to get more wind.
Okay.
Okay, I guess there might be 5 of them on there. It's hard to say.
5
The
or
other
6.
boat, it looks like it only has 3, so it's again hard to say.
But that's a smaller ship.
Yeah, we don't have a full 360 view of either of them either. So
Yeah,
but
it's just we're going to argue in circles on this one. We don't have enough to say either direction on that.
yeah, the interesting
Yeah.
thing is from the interviews and such, it sounds like, I mean, it looks like there's obviously definitely some CGI elements in there. I just said looks like, obviously, definitely in the same sentence, but whatever. But it sounds like from the interviews, like they actually built these. These are not full CGI mock-ups.
Well, it's hard to tell what they did with the bottom, the blue glowy stuff. Whether that's a CGI retouch or they added some LEDs.
Mm-hmm. And it might be they used like full size for some shots and models for others, and CGI for
Yeah.
others.
I could see it being like models with touch-ups.
Camelot.
The,
It's
the,
only a
the,
model.
the ship below firing its cannon does look like a model. The cannon fire being CGI, but the rest of the ship looks like a model.
Anywho, is that
But
about it?
There are some spooky ass shots.
Right.
Look at the blue one that's a little ways down from the fire. Look at that.
The one sandwiched
That's
between two Jody pictures?
Yes. That's some Flying Dutchman shit right there.
For sure.
And then we've got random people, more random people.
Oh yeah, so we do see more of what's her name?
More of
Madam Ching's crew.
Mm-hmm. Then we see more Sea Devils. Some rope swinging. And then the George Lucas going to sue somebody shots. And then a view of a boat from underwater.
I was gonna say, is that just underwater, or is that getting caught in a whirlpool? It's hard to tell.
That my thought is that it might be the Sea Devil ship itself being underwater that we're seeing from above, but it is hard to tell.
It's really hard to tell that shot.
Nope, it looks like it only has 3 sails, so.
Yeah, it would be the other ship then.
Fair.
So that might be some kind of whirlwind cannon or some kind of whirlwind whirlpool transport device.
Oh, if I'm seeing this bottom one right, it looks like a few other people board the TARDIS. Are they in the TARDIS? I can't. They look like roundels, but I'm not sure if they're what the current TARDIS is using. Yeah, I think they're in the TARDIS.
Yes, they're in the TARDIS. I really hated it that they put it so that the police box symbol is
the same inside and out. Yeah, it's really annoying.
Yeah, that threw me off, but then I remembered I think we've seen it in a few episodes like that.
Yeah, they did it ever since they redesigned the TARDIS, and I hate it. Because the old way made it look like you were inside.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, you'll notice at the bottom of this, it shows likely at 7 p.m. BST.
Yep. So they still haven't announced it.
Well, the funny thing is, I'm pretty sure the video description for the trailer itself says like the 17th of April.
Yeah, but I don't think it says the time though. Is like we know the date, but that's like it's less than 2 weeks, and the time's still not announced. And yeah, I think Rand said he thinks that that's consistent with how RTD and Moffat did it, but I really think the Moffat era has been a bit too close to the chest with details about upcoming episodes.
You mean the Chibnall era?
Is that? Sorry, I said it. I'm sure I said it wrong, but yes.
Yeah. No, it's usually the time comes out on the radio times, so.
Yeah, the description says 17/4/22, but it says nothing about when.
Yep.
Which, granted, more and more people are watching it the next day on iPlayer anyway, and I imagine Easter is a bit of a family holiday in the UK, so this might be an episode that's poorly watched on the day of and mostly watched the next morning.
Yeah, depends.
be.
For some people, most of the Easter stuff is done by that time of day.
Mm.
You know, you have a kind of an Easter dinner, which they serve at lunchtime with family and stuff, and then you would have and then you would have a small supper. Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to ask Sammy.
Mm.
But anywho,
Anyway, moving on. Uh, we have the only other thing we have is the new releases from Big Finish, which is only one, and that is the Sixth Doctor: Mind of the Hodiak, which was written by Russell T Davies with Colin Baker and Bonnie Langford. There's a lot of hype about this as being a lost
Mhm.
RTD story, and especially with Russell T taking the helm again, people are looking at it to try to remind themselves of his style. So we'll see how that goes off.
Mm-hmm.
It has, yeah, Colin Baker, Bonnie Langford, so it's the Mel era. All right, that's all for news.
Yep.
Next is Geek Talk, and
we're kicking off with Alex. So Halloween 6.
Yep. So yeah, I finally have seen I mean, like, I don't know, maybe I'm blanking and I haven't actually seen Halloween Resurrection, but I feel like I have. But otherwise I've seen every Halloween movie now. Which seems weird to be ending on this one, but you know, maybe it's just because I watched the producer's cut, which has a lot more context in it for stuff, because apparently that's like the main difference is the theatrical cut has a lot more blood and guts in it, but a lot of scenes cut for time to make the movie shorter. So there are a lot of scenes that make no sense because, like, suddenly Loomis is at the hospital, but wait, why the fuck would he be there? He wasn't there the last time we saw him. There's no context for why he would be. And like stuff like that. And it's like, you know, the cult shit or not, Halloween 5 is worse than this. Because this is at least a lot less, like, Loomis isn't Looney Loomis like he
True, I
was in
suppose
that.
there's that.
Like, because Loomis is just like
He has a little too
shouting at
over
a
top in
5 year.
5.
Yeah, he's shouting at fucking Jamie and all that shit and whatever. He's a lot more calm this time, or at least a lot more like traditional Loomis, as opposed to bonkers Loomis like he was in 5. Like, you know, using Jamie as bait to lure in Michael and all this crap. Like, there's none of that shit going on, and
they're not
generally
trying
the
to humanize
characters,
Michael, but they are trying to explain him,
yeah.
and it fails.
I mean, the cut I watched also has it implied that Michael impregnated Jamie.
Yeah.
So rape and incest is something that the producers cut have. So that sucks. And like it's interesting because apparently in the theatrical cut, it's still sort of there, but it's just implied rather than directly stated. I mean, you don't obviously see that shit go down, but it like you see the enough to imply that it happened. And it's just like, okay. And also, like, in the theatrical cut, Jamie dies really early on, but in the producer's cut, she actually like lives until like halfway through and then just kind of gets randomly killed off. So it's like, okay, that actually does seem kind of silly. They might as well have just had a die at the start. But yeah, and of course this is Paul Rudd's first movie, and you can kind of tell
He is a bit stiff.
he's being, well, it's not even like stiff so much as he's just being weird.
Well, I think
Like,
that's part
he's
of the
just
character, but
but it's like, just he's not, probably not the right actor for that, I guess. At least not this early in his career.
yeah, I would say it might
So
be
it's-
just that he was a little too new, and maybe the director didn't really work very well with him.
Yeah. Like, the thing that it kept coming back into my head was like that one clip from The Simpsons where like Bart's randomly flying a kite for no reason in the dark, and he just turns to Marge and it's like, "Hello, mother dear." It's like, it's very that. Like, it's very that energy, but all the time. And God, I could go on a rant for 20 minutes about one thing that happens that I'm obviously not going to, but like, that's just like an incidental thing that I ranted about in the chat that I was just like, no, there's no fucking way that would ever happen, and that's purely plot convenience. But yeah, is it the worst Halloween movie ever? I would, honest to God, say no, but it is
I
definitely
think that honestly
bottom of
goes
the
to
barrel
Resurrection.
anyway.
As much as I can hate some elements in some of the movies, Resurrection is just the worst.
I mean, I will forever forgive Trick or Treat, motherfucker, and shit like that. So at least that's entertainingly bad. Whereas this is just kind of like, and Halloween 5 is frustrating. But yeah, that's about all I've got for that, which thank God, because it was almost hitting 5 minutes.
Now you've got to see the theatrical cut and the Halloween 2 TV cut, which they shot extra footage for because they cut too much.
Did they? I thought that was the first one.
Although there are director's cuts of both, and Rob Zombie has intentionally tried to make the director's cuts more easily available.
Oh, I meant
I'm talking about the
Halloween
original.
Into the 1980s one.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway.
So on to the next one, Spiral.
Yeah. Moving on from one disappointing sequel to another.
Is it called? I'm looking the way you wrote it in the outline. Is it called Spiral?
No, it's called Spiral, or the alternative name is Spiral from the Book of Saw.
Yeah, I basically
just put a long title and a short title.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I put the long title in there just so it was easy to Google images for. Because I thought Spiral probably might not help unless you put like Spiral 2021. But yeah,
I would just call it Saw Spiral.
Yeah, like this movie is a mixed bag. And I will say this. I fucking called who the killer was the second they showed up. And my immediate reaction was, it better not be that person. And it ends up being that person. And I'm like, fucking hell, movie. My fucking dumbass could see this coming a mile away, and you still went with it. They try to misdirect, but it's just like, I saw it coming a mile
predictable sons of gun.
And maybe it was just because I rewatched Saw like 1 through 6 prior to watching this. Like, most of those movies that day. So I was like, maybe I was looking for stuff more than I normally would have. But it was just like, it's that person. And then it turned out to be that person. I'm like, God damn it. It could have been someone else. But like, that kind of just ruined the ending for me. Is it like I did not rewatch Saw 7 / Saw 3D / Saw the Final Chapter, but I'll say that Spiral is probably not worse than that movie, because that movie is that movie. Like, that is like the movie that this and like Jigsaw basically just ignored, seemingly, because like you probably might as well.
Well, I think Jigsaw was supposed to be like just an entirely different thing anyways, but
well, it's supposed to be like this weird sort of maybe it's a soft reboot, maybe not. But like, yeah,
I think it was supposed to be like maybe a soft prequel, but yeah, even then they're just like, nah.
Yeah, it's just
Even
weird.
the people
It's
who
just
behind it were like, nah, it's got too
it's-
divorced from Saw. It's not really Saw anymore.
Yeah. It's just that the twist makes no sense in that one, really, and the twist in this one like makes sense, but it's still just like, I saw this coming, like as soon as this character showed up, like, and you still went with them.
Your mystery horror movie is so predictable from minute one.
Yeah, and also like the other problem is that usually the Saw formula is a trap plot and a cop plot. This is basically a police procedural that happens to have Saw traps in it. So it's like, because to be fair, that makes a bit of sense because it's supposed to be a copycat killer and not someone who's just like, oh, I believe in what Jigsaw did. It's just someone using the Jigsaw shtick to get back at these people, essentially, because it's like killing a bunch of corrupt cops. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like, and Chris Rock as the lead is just kind of So it's just like, whatever. Like they just bent over backwards to do it because Chris Rock said he wanted to do a Saw movie, which is the only reason this movie happened. But yeah, it's just like, maybe upon a rewatch I'd like it more. And it's not a bad movie, but it's just like, god damn it, that twist was so fucking obvious. And just, oh well. Yeah, it's, I don't know. Like people can check it out, and if they like it, cool. But just, I don't know. It's again, it's not the worst Saw movie ever made, but
it might be.
I would not. It's not one of the better either.
All right, 4 minutes 20. Let's stop that. And
how many
Texas
Saw movies
remake.
are there at this point?
9, because there was 7, and then Jigsaw and Spiral. So yeah.
So yeah, 8 and 9. So Texas Chainsaw remake number 3, and go.
Yeah. Well, technically, this is basically the Texas Chainsaw equivalent of Halloween 2018, because it's a direct sequel to only the first movie.
Only the first original movie, or the first remake?
The first original movie, like the original 74 movie. And you know, it doesn't. It's more, it brings back a character, but it doesn't bring back the actress because the actress was dead by then. And to be honest, probably would have been too old to pull this off anyway.
Possibly.
Because like she basically was reduced to like a cameo, I think, in one of the newer-ish movies. I forget which one it was. Maybe Texas Chainsaw 3D. But yeah. This movie is not bad. But this movie also treats Leatherface like he is either Michael or Jason, and I don't like it. Because like, and you know, it didn't even really occur to me that was a missing element, but there's no family element. Like even the other ones that are bad usually still remember that, you know, it's about the family. It's about like Leatherface and his fucked up family.
Yeah.
Not just Leatherface. Whereas this is more...
Yeah, Leatherface
like
is the you're about to die imminent terror. The family is about the rest of the creepy feeling you're supposed to be getting and knowing that there's something bad going down.
Yeah, because
the family are the ones that do the talking, which, like you said, separates him from Jason or Michael. Well, even Michael has Loomis to kind of
talk for him and try to figure him out.
Yeah, to warn you what's going to happen.
Yeah. Like...
Jason has Crazy Ralph for 2 movies.
But yeah, it's like he has a sort of surrogate mother who dies, and that kicks off his killing spree, and it's just like, and like, I don't know, it's just, I mean, I was very worried that this is going to be like, lol, millennials, am I right? Because of the main characters, and thank God it's like not really. I mean, like, but you can still read it that way, but like, I basically just in my own head was like, okay, I'm just going to force this to be city folk, am I right? Instead of, because like that fits this franchise more.
Well, yeah,
It's
that's
like City
actually
folk
what this
having no
franchise
idea
usually
what
is too. When it comes to
Yeah.
targets, it's haha, dumb city folk,
Yeah, pretty much. So it's
you
like,
dumb kids, you just walked right in,
yeah. So it's like, it's
no
that sort of shit.
manners.
But I don't know. It's like some of the shit that Leatherface survives in this, I'm like, or just shrugs off. I'm like, that's not Leatherface. He's supposed to be real. Like when it really comes down to it, like the first movie got banned in some countries for a reason because it felt like a snuff film to them. So Leatherface is supposed to feel more real than the vaguely supernatural Michael, or the he's sort of just kind of uber strong and then dies.
And him becomes
Jason.
supernatural Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where
one's super powered by a cult of druids, and the other is a deadite.
yeah. And like it's just God, that bugged me so much. And this has some issues that I have with some others where it's like a character has a chance to just shoot him point blank in the face and they don't, and it pisses me off, and the
Oh yeah,
movie
that's
just
just a moment
loses me.
stupid.
Like they like, and basically the Halloween 2018 element of this either feels like I've seen like it's mocking that, or it's just trying to do it but failing miserably. So
Most
it's like,
likely the
why is
later.
this? Yeah. It's like, just this movie did not really need to exist, but like, it's not completely crap, but there are just so many decisions made in it that I'm like,
Why?
no, this isn't a Texas Chainsaw movie. This could have been anything else, really. But yeah, that's about all I've got. Like,
Alright.
I can't say it's the worst Texas Chainsaw movie because there are like 3 or 4 I haven't seen yet. But I would honest to God say it's the worst of the ones I've seen, just by the fact that it pissed me off to a greater degree. But yeah, that's about all I've got.
Alrighty, so that's the end of your movies. Now on to my recent collection of video game stuff. So starting off with Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. So, in case you haven't figured out yet, folks, Konami is kind of a piece of work company these days. The people who kept the Castlevania series alive on handhelds for better part of a decade and a half and kept being very successful every time, basically got done with being treated like garbage by Konami and left. The lead director, who's been lead director of the 2D franchise since the PlayStation 1 era, has basically just went, you know what? We're going to make a spiritual successor, we're going to crowdfund it, and we're going to make it, and we're just going to get done and give the fans what they want, because Konami just won't do it. So successfully funded, even to the point that they made a retro prequel. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is a game I just recently finished, and I was very pleased with it. I'm not sure what happened. There was some sort of weird technical difficulty with Steam, I believe, that caused me to not be able to stream it the first night I tried streaming it. And then, like, a couple days later, it fixed, and I don't know why, so I finally got going. Still annoyed about the fact that I couldn't get going. And proceeded to just work my way through it. There was a couple of times in the game where I did come to a crawl where I had to kind of like figure out like either what I need to level up or what gear I need to find in order to get through certain areas, because like Castlevania, there's some hidden stuff here and there. And certain creatures you need to find and get their special abilities in order to progress through the game. But eventually I was able to do it. I saw all 3 different endings of the game. And I finally ended on the major good ending at the very end. And it does hint at the fact that I'm not going to say who, but one of the characters might still be alive. And I have heard that they are planning a sequel now. So just in time for their sequel plans, I have now finished the game. And I need to get the second
Dracula's
retro
always
game.
alive.
Hmm?
I said Dracula's always alive.
Nah. The Dracula stand-in is actually a character that is officially dead. And is replaced by 2 other bosses later on in the game. But that's already telling a bit, and I'm not going to spoil any further than that. Oh, and that's also the game's director again, the guy who basically wanted to make a Castlevania only without the name. He's actually in there as a Dracula replacement if you unlock him and come back to that room later on in the game. So it's funny to see him voiced by himself, basically pretending to be Dracula and kick his butt. Yeah, I believe you get an achievement for it, and then there might be, I believe there's a piece of gear that he drops too. But yeah, for the general purpose of it, enjoyed my time. I beat it in, I think, in roughly 40 hours, which is not bad for a Castlevania, Metroidvania style game. And yeah, there's sequel plans, and there's already 2 retro style games based on the series so far. So going on to the next one. This one's a bit of a odd one. This one just came out, I want to say, a month and a half ago. This one's called Vampire Survivors, and again, we go back to Castlevania. It borrows a lot of artistic ideas, but still alters them. And the basic gameplay for Vampire Survivors is that you're just one character and you're slowly walking them around the screen as they automatically fire all their weapons and do whatever it is they do on screen. Essentially, creatures keep coming at you as waves. They spawn their spawn rate is determined by the timer. So the further into the game you get and the longer you survive, the bigger the things get and the more of them they spawn. And they do have certain bosses timed, and if you manage to survive to the 30-minute mark, death appears, and unless you can get him in a spot where he'll not be able to reach you, he'll just crawl up and snap you in half. And that's basically been the end of these levels so far. And they just actually did a update today which added another map. So there's technically 4 normal maps, 2 extended maps, and I want to say there's somewhere around 8 different characters for this game. All of them have different starting weapons. Some of them are the only way you can see that starting weapon. And the majority of the repeating weapons, you have to get another sub-item weapon or sub-item like bonus, and it'll help you upgrade the weapon to a final form, which will be super badass and help you a lot to get to the end game. The basic weapons are there from like Castlevania stuff. You got a whip, you got a holy water, I think it's a ring that can shoot lightning bolts. You have throwing crosses, you have like throwing axes and a number of other like usual sub weapons and stuff, and they're all upgradable. You just have to survive long enough. The characters range from guys that look like they could be a Belmont to guys that look like they could be Alucard to a panda, a skeleton, and just recently I think the new guy's an angel. Oh yeah, and one of the characters also looks like a priest from Castlevania 2. So yeah, it's a very much an arcadey style game, and it's a survival game. But so far it's been fun to play through, and even though the new expansion just came out today with also more achievements, I'm down to like the last 2 achievements already tonight.
Nice.
So, if any luck, another round or 2, and I should be able to have it caught up again. And it's been fun so far. Actually, how much time do I have on it now? I have... Oh, it doesn't want to show me all of a sudden. Well, I think it's somewhere in like 20 or 30 hours on it now, I believe. Somewhere in that vicinity. I think it's closer to the 20. That's all I have on Vampire Survivors for right now, and they do have a roadmap where they plan to extend more stuff into it.
So then that brings us back to you again with our review of Shame.
Oh, that's right. So, what was it now? It was
Reset
Reset
according
from
to the notes.
Yeah, Reset from Torchwood. I'm looking up an image real quick to see if I can get anything. Oh,
Ah.
that'll work for a placeholder.
From your giggle, I'm guessing it's a dead Owen.
No, it's a very confused Owen, a very surprised Martha, and a laughing Jack. The first time they try using the device. And basically almost shot Yanto. But I get. Oh yeah, so yeah, just basically go through the pointers. So favorite thing about the episode, honestly, just a lot of references with Martha and the little tidbits she'll give, and just slightly more than what Jack will normally drop, but only slightly.
Yeah.
Things I didn't care for. They tried really hard to make that device basically the Chekhov's gun of the episode.
Yeah, that came up last week, I believe.
Yeah, they tried super hard to make that the Chekhov's gun, and by the time they come at it the third time, it's like, do you really think this is gonna work? This is gonna just kill Martha. Thanks, show. So I guess then favorite moment.
Yep.
You know what? Martha and Gwen getting to talk for a few moments was generally amusing little conversation. And literally ending with, "You talking about me?" from the catwalk. And yes, they were talking about Jack. Least favorite moment. There's a couple little tiny ticks, but nothing like really major, I guess.
So pass on least favorite scene, or
I'm trying to think if there's anyone in particular I'm gonna go with or pass on it. You know what? I'm gonna say they're all minor enough that I can't really complain too hard on it. So yeah, I'll pass on least favorite scene. Nothing that I can really solidly put my foot on.
Hmm.
And then final thoughts on the episode. This is supposed to be like the start of a new season, wasn't it?
no. Let me see.
Because I don't
It
remember
was
where this takes
episode
place.
7 of series 2.
Okay. Oh, so it's like the later half
So it's
of
like
the season.
mid-season.
Yeah. It does feel like the show is finally starting to hit its proper tone. Like they are obviously they still drop some of the air quotes adult hints here and there, but they don't like go. Thank God they don't go full on into it. And they are still trying to push the whole redeeming Owen thing, which is a little too late, but it is starting to like not be like a neck break attempt to redeem the character after being such an a-hole for so long.
Yep.
If nothing else, they're also making him a bit of a joke out of him here and there throughout the episode too, to help push the not always an asshole moments. So at least, if nothing else, we're having a laugh at his mistakes here and there. And that's basically my thoughts on the episode. Rating. I don't think it's a perfect, so I'm going to say it's at least a 4.5.
So you agree with Rand then?
Okay.
So that raises the average from a 4.17 to a 4.25. Exactly split down the middle.
Oh, it's split between 4s and 4.5s, huh?
Yeah.
Which puts it on par with Big Finish, The Chimes of Midnight. Big Finish, Susan's War. Or, excuse me, we're looking at spin-offs. My bad. Sarah Jane Adventures, Prisoner of the Jadoon. Sarah Jane Adventures, Day of the Clown. And
Creepy-ass
it
clowns.
is better than Sarah Jane Adventures, Warriors of the Kudlak, but not as good as Sarah Jane Adventures, Enemy of the Bane. You'll notice there's a lack of Torchwood in this area.
Torchwood
In
finally hit a
fact-
high point.
In fact, highest I can see Torchwood is Fragments at 4.3, and under it, I have to go down to 4.0 with Torchwood Everything Changes.
So one of the top 2 episodes of the series so
Well,
far.
there are
wait.
there are some 4.7s and above.
Yeah, I saw
just-
4.13.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk in the range. I did
Right.
miss.
That would be a bit
Torchwood
far out of
Sleeper.
the way.
Torchwood Sleeper and End of Days are 4.13 and 4.1, so
Mhm.
I missed those when I was scrolling down. It must have
Oh,
jumped
and I
down.
don't know if you saw Adrift 4.4, which would be just above.
Yeah, but I was trying to get the range.
Mhm.
2.25. The next time I see one, I have to go up to 4.3.
Oh yeah,
so-
that's right. Okay.
and if I go down, I have to go down to 4.13 before I see another Torchwood. So yeah, there's basically none in the 4.2 range, and now there is.
Okay, so yeah,
Hmm.
I misunderstood when you said
yeah.
lack of Torchwood in the range. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so I guess it's time for the summary, which I do not have notes for, but I should be good for.
Okay.
All right.
Stumble through it, Bill.
Yep. All right. Go ahead, give me a countdown.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, this episode picks off pretty much immediately after reset. Martha is about to do the autopsy for Owen until Jack says, "Hold the fuck up." He runs through town, talks to an oracle who sends him to the basement of a church filled with weevils, where he finds another resurrection glove. He brings it back to Torchwood HQ, resurrects Owen, gets a password from him. Tosh confesses her love, and then they, try to talk about death before Owen seems to die. But just like with Susie, he's actually not dead, except it's not like with Susie at all, because the power is not coming from Jack, and they don't know where it's coming from other than that there's some sort of weird energy going on. Owen goes off to be on his own because he's kind of coping with the fact that he's dead. And then they check the CCTV and found out that he was speaking in tongues. They use a translator and basically find out that, based on what he's saying, he seems to be the very similar to an embodiment of death that showed up, I think, a few hundred years ago and killed 12 people before being stopped. Meanwhile, Jack hunts down Owen, and in the process of eventually coming back, they get surrounded by a whole bunch of weevils, presumably from that church. Except when they see Owen, they bow down to him, which is kind of weird. So now they're trying to figure out what is going on. They think Owen is a portal that death is going to come through. So they're like, okay, fuck it. We're going to embalm him like a proper corpse, since that's basically what he is. Except now the glove is like, fuck you, Martha. You don't get to embalm him because he's doing shit. So it drains Martha's youth and energy from her before they manage to destroy it. They bring Martha to the hospital, and also in the process, Owen spits out death. I guess he's a Yoshi. So Death also goes to the hospital because that's where people are close to dying. And it starts to kill people while they're trying to evacuate the hospital. Finally, Yanto realizes, as he's digging through the archives, that the person who stopped Death before was the girl who had been resurrected to bring him back in the same way that Owen had been resurrected. She managed to fight him off, so Owen fights off Death. Death leaves. Owen doesn't. The end.
All right, you got it in almost exactly 3 minutes.
All right.
I don't think
So-
I missed anything important there.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about what we liked about the episode. I had a little trouble adjusting the names because my old dice roller is apparently no longer in existence.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Wizards of the Coast. Thank you, thank you.
oh, you were using that one too, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks, Wizards.
but I found an alternative, and Alex, you're up.
Oh. God, let's see. I guess I like that this was like a different take on something that they'd basically already done, where someone tries to bring someone back using the. Well, I guess in this case it was intentionally, but like, you know, the idea of trying to use one of the gauntlets for this kind of thing, and it goes weird, but it goes weird in a different way than how it did with Susie. So even though they're kind of doing something, it feels more like a follow-up rather than a rehash.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And Matt?
General thing I liked overall. Oh, what to focus on? Actually, one of the things I do like is that how well they try to tie this together with the previous episode, because normally there's usually a pretty long unsure of how many days kind of break between episodes. This is like literally within an hour or so of the previous
Mhm.
episode.
Hmm.
It's a separate episode, yet it continues almost exactly following the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You definitely need to have the previous one, and it does feel like a really good natural springing off point.
Even the scene with Gwen and Reese really reinforces that, because it's like, oh no, they haven't had time to process this shit. This is the same day.
Mm-hmm.
They've had time to haul him back to Torchwood, get things set up,
And
that's
everything's
about
gone
it.
awry.
Yep.
All right, Bill.
So I guess what I like is that they're finally following up with that whole like there's something in the dark thing, which, you know, like there was that big question of like, oh, was she talking about Abaddon? Like, is that related? We don't know. Maybe, who knows? But this is very clear. There's something alive. It has to do with death. They're even linking those scenes together. Um, so I like that they followed it up, but it wasn't in like a super ham-fisted way where they're like, oh, you know, thinking about, well, what did Susie say about death? Like it only comes up because it's part of the conversation. So that also kind of flowed naturally. So in that way, it's a natural follow-up without being like over, you know, hitting you over the head with it.
All right. As for me, I do love the part of the theme of this is undeath sucks.
They forever is not what you think it is.
Yep. I mean, you know, you look at Owen, and I think about like 2/3 of the way through the episode, he wants to die.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, no, let's just get this over with. This is terrible. I hate this. I can't drink. I can't have sex. Fuck this.
And I can't sleep. My
And
three
farting.
favorite things.
He was very big on farting.
Mm-hmm.
Farting came up as a fourth thing, yeah.
Unrelated note, I wonder how Clara Oswald's doing.
Yep. So let's talk about what we disliked about it. And Alex, you're first.
Well, the further the plot goes along, the more I'm thinking this episode would make a lot more sense if Owen died at the end. Like, permanently.
I feel like you
Because,
say that after most Torchwood episodes, to be fair.
I mean, I don't like Owen, but this would have felt like his death in the actual, like his actual, like, yes, he's gone forever, no take backsies, like, is such like a whoops, bam, oh, he's dead. Whereas this would have been like, you had one chance. This would have been his, like, I will sacrifice myself, and that's my, like, redemption by death moment. That would have made sense. Instead, he just kind of randomly dies in a less heroic-y kind of way in the finale because both him and Tosh just kind of both die. And it's like, like, it just, I don't know, it felt like it would have been a lot more satisfying and ending narratively. And I would have bought it if he just, like, died at the end of this to save everyone else, and it would have been like, okay, cool, I can buy that as a redemption. But then he doesn't.
And it would have fit in with the rest of the themes of the episode, too.
Yeah. Like, it would have been a nice, like...
It actually brings up the question,
essentially-
where's Faith at? Because likely there's an immortal child running around somewhere.
I mean, in hindsight, I almost just figured that it was like that random girl that shows up at near the start that never
Maybe.
comes back.
Maybe.
The
random Oracle girl, yeah.
Yeah.
That's never seen again and never explained.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just it would just it occurred to me this would be a lot better if he had like from a narrative standpoint, not even so much a hating Owen standpoint. It would have just been like, I would have accepted this as his send off, but no, we have to keep him around till the finale and then kill him off that way.
Let's see that.
All right, Matt.
I'm honestly fine with his send off later on in the season, but anyway, yeah, my qualm, I kind of hinted at it a little bit, but actually the entirety of that whole sequence of events. Who is this Oracle girl? How does Jack know her? Why does he know her? How is she actually clairvoyant? How does she know all this stuff? Why is he literally searching for the other glove when we said it doesn't exist or might just not be around whatsoever anywhere for like an entire season? And he just suddenly on a whim can find it now.
Rule number 1, Captain Jack lies.
What I found kind of weird about that is I thought it had been pretty much established and agreed upon that the Rassilon had the other glove.
I thought so too. That was the other thing.
Yet. That hadn't happened yet. Remember, this is taking place before.
That's true.
Series 4, if I recall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But RTD was still around for both of them.
Mm-hmm. But they said they didn't know how many gloves there were in this episode. Just that they often came in pairs. So it still looked like they reused that prop.
So maybe there's at least one more glove out there.
So there's at least one more glove in the universe that we haven't seen yet. So there's a pair for healing people and there's a pair for destroying people. And Rassilon's only got one of the pair for destroying.
Yeah. And also Rassilon is, a time traveler, so
he's still only got one half.
Just because they've destroyed the two that have shown up in Torchwood doesn't mean he could have grabbed them from like a previous time or some weird shit, whatever.
They would still have to end up on Earth somehow, and I don't want him on Earth anytime soon, thanks.
Well, yeah, but those seem to be the zappy gloves of death.
Yeah, that's the other thing, too, is that his is the sappy glove of death, and the other two are the sappy gloves of, we bring it back. So there's still lends the question of where does the other death glove go?
Mm-hmm.
And
But-
what happened to it between Dalton and the other guy, because it goes from being a glove to like some stuff over his hand.
But yeah, those are questions for another time. But yeah, that was my
I blame
base
Moffat
response.
for that. Moffat.
Moffat.
Okay. So, Bill.
So what I dislike is, what the fuck is with the Weevils? Do the Weevils worship death? Is death the god of Weevils? Like, why is there just a church filled with Weevils that Torchwood hasn't noticed? There's so many questions to do with the Weevils, and like, did the Weevils make the glove? Like, what the fuck is going on with the Weevils?
Yeah, well,
Were they just the most convenient costume lying around the
Probably.
Torchwood set?
Most likely. Had multiple
Yeah.
copies. And multiple sizes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was kind of my thing too. Is the Weevils were supposed to be this occasional thing that came through a rift. Occasionally, a couple of them would get together and start a nest.
Mm-hmm.
But they were dangerous because they kept attacking people, probably for food.
Right.
So, having freaking 100 Weevils chasing after Jack and Owen, you would think that would be a big local issue.
Yeah.
You would think there would have been, like, a giant spike in deaths in that area that Torchwood would have picked up on. But no, instead it's Weevils all over the place. And, that bothered me.
Yeah.
I had another issue, but I've forgotten what it is in the thing of the Weevils.
Honestly, Owen, Messiah of the Weevils is still something that bothers me. Messiah King, or whatever you want to call him.
A bajillion Weevils. Yeah.
Owen, Master of Weevils.
Yeah, instead of Cardiff, it becomes New Weevilton.
Weevilville?
Oh, get on your boots, it's Weevil Stomping Day. Yeah. Okay. Favorite scene?
You know what? For a change, this has probably happened before, but it's very rare. I
And
am
it's no one's
actually, yeah, and it is him essentially comforting the kid with leukemia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
like,
was a very, very well, I guess you might say that he actually kind of has can sympathize with the kid now, considering he's a walking corpse. But
yeah,
would have been cool to see like how he was, like what his bedside manner was like before he joined Torchwood. I mean,
I gotta wonder
Go
if
ahead.
it was actually better back then, and then wonder what snapped.
seemed different in the little flash we get in fragments. I'm pretty sure he seemed to be like nowhere near as shitty prior to joining Torchwood, and just kind of seeing all the shit he's seen in Torchwood made him go shitty.
I feel like he said something in Adam related to like why he became so cynical, but I'm not putting my finger on it at the moment.
Well, he did, like, I think we learn in fragments that like he lost his fiance.
Mm.
That would probably be part of it. That would kill a lot of people on the inside.
Oh, okay, I thought it might be something to do with like, working, like seeing people die at work and like just growing like so jaded and nihilistic.
Well,
or something like that.
Yeah, like I don't think it was an immediate shift, but I think it was like that coupled with working with Torchwood probably turned him into who he is.
All right. So, Matt.
Hmm. So this is general thing I like, the general moment I like.
No, it's favorite scene.
Yeah, like I said, general moment or scene. Um, which one do I want to go with? That was a head scratcher. Actually, you know what? I'll go with Owen and Jack in the prison.
Okay.
Once again, it's
Any
Owen
particular
it's
part of
Owen
it?
being basically the punching bag for a few jokes
Mm.
as he's dealing with being dead and still alive.
Is that the whole scene, including the upside down puking part?
Oh, yeah.
Or
And Jack's reaction. Oh God.
Yeah, you would think Jack, who has traveled has traveled across space and time, would have seen something more disgusting than that.
But no, that's still caught him off guard pretty good. and even then, after all that, it also still ends on a wholesome note between the two of them as Jack just finally get them out of there.
Mm-hmm. That was
it's to me.
yeah. I do.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that was part of mine too, because his reaction to that,
Ah,
just Jack's reaction to that was like, holy cow. Okay, go ahead.
so I think I mentioned it earlier, but I actually do think I am going to pick it as a favorite scene. Is the moment between when Gwen calls Reese, because it's actually dealing with the fact like that you need to process this shit, and it's. I mean, in a lot of sci-fi, you really realize that the big problem is everybody fucking needs therapy in sci-fi, and that would solve a lot of the problems. But I think in some like shows like Torchwood and sometimes even like Torchwood, and Doctor Who as well, they just kind of go on as if like everybody's immune to like psychological trauma. But here, like she fucking saw her coworker who I would say she has mixed feelings about. Like she enjoys his company sometimes and hates him the other times.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she just saw him get fucking shot, and it definitely could have literally been anyone there except Jack. And it would have been, could have suffered the same fate. So it's the fact that she, needs to, sit and cry and call her fiance, like it's so real, which makes it a really strong moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
I was thinking, how often in Star Trek do you see a red shirt get killed? And the crew, and well, it's like, okay, everyone be cautious now.
Right.
Nobody's like, oh, poor ensign, what's his name?
Even in like I don't like by Next Generation they're keeping their families with them on the Enterprise. I don't know if you ever see someone be like, what about my spouse? Did they come back? Like, oh no, they got shot as soon as we landed. We didn't even bury the body.
Yeah, that Gwen thing is almost like I would almost be surprised that they didn't have her just flat out go back to him, but I guess with everything going at like the pace it's going, there's no real time for her to like go home.
Right.
So it would have had to have been that scene happening at like the end of the episode.
All right, we're down to me, my favorite scene.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's actually an offshoot of Bill's one. I think I just like the moment where Owen's just like, I'm going to need that hand back. Because it's just the absolute what the fuck look on John Barrowman's face. It's just, what? I remember the first time I saw that, and I'm like, what? Okay, least favorite scene.
You know, I'm going to have to go with what you could jokingly refer to as Owen dancing with death rather than fighting it, because
Oh,
that's
God
what it
damn
fucking
it.
looks like. Because like he just looks like he's running around. They're just holding hands and like jumping around in a circle. It's just like, what the fuck are we doing? Is this? Are you fighting or are you folk dancing? Like, what the fuck's
Deadpool would
going
not
on?
approve.
uh, it's just so silly. I mean, like, you know, I'm glad they kept the CGI skeleton, which doesn't look too bad, but you know, I'm glad they kept it shrouded in like that sort of fog sort of stuff. But like, even then, like, just him kind of going around in circles with it is like, the fuck is supposed to be happening?
Actually, I can still use the same scene, but I have some different critiques.
Hmm.
I have an idea. Are you done?
Yep.
Okay, so I believe it goes to me, yes?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, similar scene. So, here's my issue with the scene. Actually, I don't mind Owen's acting. It is a little over top, but it's literally a guy acting by himself, right? It
Yeah.
happens. My problem is that the death thing actually looks pretty damn well done, especially in low lighting up to this point, and it looks really effective. It's when he gets into the tangle with Owen that the visual effects for it look really shoddy for some weird reason,
As
and
they're
it looks
dancing with a human.
absolutely
Yeah.
ridiculous, and I'm not buying it anymore. At least not those two
Hmm.
faraway shots. There's a couple of close-ups where it actually looks like it might be working, and then it immediately pulls away again. It's
Hmm.
like, nope, never mind.
Yeah, and like I feel like most of the other shots were in low lighting, but also even when it wasn't, it was the only thing in the shot.
Yeah. Yeah, even when it
Whereas
was in
now
light,
you've
it
got it.
was like the only thing in the shot, and they
Mhm.
did it at certain angles where it would still be effective in
Yeah,
the kind of offset lighting, and then again, it just comes to him fighting Owen, and it's just not meshing.
Oh, the
yeah,
death effects were part of what I forgot to mention with my Weevil complaint. Death is a human skeleton, not a Weevil skeleton.
Hmm
So again, what
Again,
the fuck?
how it touches to Weevils, I don't know.
yeah. I guess as it's an idea of that they're like it's the very like nature of the franchise thing to be like, oh, here's like this alien explanation for a concept of folklore, so it has to look like a human skeleton because that's what it was interpreted as, even though it's like,
That's why
well,
the devil thing
it
looks
could
like
have
it's
been
a
an alien
humanoid
skeleton.
thing with red skin and horns, but it's an alien
Yeah.
explanation. Ooh.
Even though you could argue it's
Even the
like, well,
doctor
maybe
doesn't
that was
know how to
just,
explain it away, but it's certainly an alien thing.
yeah, it's like you could have argued that the skull could have looked inhuman, but whatever, and maybe they wanted
Mhm.
to, but it was like, nah, this is Torchwood, we don't have the budget. Just make it a human skeleton.
Just give it the human skeleton. It's already pre-built into the package
It's like,
deal with the thing.
okay, what do we have for the budget for death? Spirit Halloween.
All right, somebody go down to the Five and Dime and pick up a just one of those Halloween skeletons, and we'll mock it up.
God, I do
And
wonder what they had for a stand-in for this. That would be so
I don't know
funny
that
to
they
watch
had a
it behind the
stand-in
scenes.
because I really do believe it's just the actor, Owen's actor, just doing whatever in the middle of the room.
Probably. Yeah, it'd be funny if it was just like a guy in like a fucking full body like
Because if they actually
Halloween
did have a guy in a full
thing.
body, I don't know why they weren't tracking it to make better animations for the skeleton.
Hmm. True. I
But
feel like
anyways,
they probably do that
that's
now, but
mine,
yeah,
and
this
I
is
guess technically
2009.
also Alex's. So,
So
Bill.
I've been going back and forth between two scenes, and like I already know that one of them you all will have pretty convincing reasons to convince me to drop it. Although I guess I'll bring it up as an honorable mention if Rand doesn't, because he probably won't. But the main, so I'm going to go with the fact that like this woman in the bar like grabs Owen's cock and is like, "Oh, you're not interested in me." but she didn't notice in the process that his like body temperature is, damn it, I don't know the body temperature in Celsius, and that's what she would be going off of. But like,
It would be room temperature.
It would be
by
room
now.
temperature, so
pretty
roughly
much.
70 degrees.
Well, yeah,
American
in
temperature.
Fahrenheit, right? Like his heart hasn't been beating in at least in at least the time it took him to walk there and start drinking.
That kiss would have
Plus,
been really cold.
right, and then she
Yeah.
like there's a whole bunch of skin contact on the way, so it's just like
Yeah.
that should have been like the last flag to get you off that something's fucking weird.
Yeah. Like as the second she kissed him, she should have been like backing off, being like, "Whoa, what the fuck?"
Right.
Mhm.
Which I mean,
It's like sucking
we
lips
s-
of adult breath mint. What was that?
I mean, that comes up all the time when people are talking about vampire movies, but at least then you're like, well, it's a vampire, it's fantasy, they're supposed to be sexy. We kind of wave it off as like it's the trope. But like here, they're
Yeah.
specifically
So,
talking
in the more
multiple
fantastical
times.
Hollywood version of vampires, they're usually much warmer and still human-esque, just pale.
But here they're specifically talking about things like no pulse,
No pulse, no blood pressure,
no
etc.
digestive system, all of that.
Mhm.
So that should have been part of it.
Yeah, they forgot a few steps in that particular sequence.
Mhm.
To that end, it's weird that seems to only exist for him to comment on it and be like, "Oh, no blood flow, great," sort of thing. And it's like, you think as a
he has no
doctor, he
reason
would
to
have
touch
kind
his
of come to
dingling
that
anymore.
conclusion.
I think as a doctor he would know that, but he's in shock. He's not
He's in shock and
physically.
trying to sorrows, even though he can't get drunk anymore.
He's not in shock of the like raise your leg 6 inches off the floor, but he's mentally in shock. Like all that he's thinking of is holy fuck, I just died twice. And now I'm alive for some fucking reason. I need to get drunk.
And interesting enough, Bill, my least favorite scene is the scene right before that. The little montage they take getting him to the bar. And this is more of a why did the director choose to do this thing? You'll notice that in there, he's going places, but Owen doesn't move.
It's if anything, he's actually kind of like moving around and looking around in circles.
Yeah, except he's not walking.
Yeah, he's just standing there, like again, like turning around and looking around in circles, and then phasing into the next shot.
So they had to have him on some kind of dolly, which was deliberate. But for me, it's like, why? He would still have to walk to get there, so it's not really an idea. And at one point, he's spinning around, and I'm like, wow, okay. Now you're like just turning the dolly. He is not like, one of these freaking things that are like floating around, guys. He's not a ghost.
I imagine that might be. Oh, sorry, you were talking before me. Go ahead.
Like, I've seen exact scenes like this before, but usually the implication is that they're drunk already.
They're already drunk and or high.
So they're so they feel like they're just floating along. So like, okay, fair. Or they're stoned out of their mind. So it's like, okay, that's just like a visual like metaphor-y thing.
Yeah, that doesn't really work for like, I'm in such shock I need a drink.
Yeah. That doesn't work for a guy who's dead and thus can't get drunk.
Yeah, I could kind of see that as just like his brain's not processing anything because he's in such a state of what the fuckery. Admittedly, I may have like been looking at Google Image when that scene happened because it doesn't ring any bells to me. But yeah, it definitely sounds like they went above and beyond the point of that making sense.
Like, honestly, it would have seemingly made more sense to have him, like, just sort of slow-mo walking down a street or something.
Almost zombie walking without the arm going from.
Yeah, almost like a zombie lurch as he's kind of slowly swaying side to side as he's going through crowds.
Yeah. And people just giving him weird looks, maybe.
A couple of them giving him weird looks, a couple of them just partying around him, not noticing him.
And yeah, well, the other thing they're doing where he's just absolutely still is like, what the fuck?
Again, the lurching to side would have been more effective
Yes,
and more proper in the mindset of what they were trying to go for.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
So the honorable mention I was going to bring up was when Jack is like, I'm going to make the glove work. It's going to work because I tell it to work. And the reason it was not my least favorite scene was like, yeah, I guess maybe you can argue why Jack would be like talking out of his ass and being irrational. But at the same time, it's like, fucking really? Like you're going to just make it work because of your force of will? Do you have a Green Lantern ring? Like, what?
It's very like
it is very much him being ham-fisted, and honestly, probably deep down inside, I expected it not to work still, but still giving it a go anyway.
Honestly, to a point, that almost feels very like 10th Doctor. Like,
Almost,
fuck
kind
you,
of.
I'm the oncoming storm, bitch. This thing's gonna
I'm
work.
going to do it because I say so.
Yeah.
Because I am the only Lord of Time. Or so he thought.
Okay, so he's tenanting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's had a little bit of experience with Tenant now, so he's tenanting.
And it is the tenant era, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm Captain Jack Harkness, and I'll make it work. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. So with that, I guess it goes off to Ram.
No, I gave mine.
Oh, that was yours already? Okay. Oh, that's right. That was Bill's backup. Never mind.
Yeah, I gave mine, then ran, and then my honorable mention. So now it is
back to
Final
Alex and final thoughts then.
Yep. This. It's so funny because I don't feel like this is a bad episode, but it just really does feel like already knowing, because for one thing, I'd already seen this before, and sorry, I've seen all the series too, but like knowing where this is going, I knew, well, of course Owen's not dying here, but the more I'm watching it, the more I'm like, this really would have, like, as I brought up before, this would have made way more sense to be where Owen died. Because he doesn't really serve much purpose, and also given what we get, the Owen we get after this, it probably would have been better off that we would have avoided like full emo Owen, because like it makes sense in this episode, but after that it's just like, oh god, go away. So it's like, I would have much preferred it if he did, because it would have been like, okay, cool, you've given him an out to sacrifice himself for the, like, in a heroic way that would have redeemed him somewhat, to a point. Probably not made up for everything he ever did, but at least it's a start. But yeah, just nope. We're just gonna keep him around because we have to kill him off later permanently. And it's like,
Have to kill him off later after we also punish him for all the things he put us through in the first season, even though he's going to slightly punish us this season.
Yeah, so it's just like, yeah, not a bad episode, but also just at the very least it like veers into being, I would say at best it's just a good episode, but it's also just like, I'm so fucking done with Owen, and just honestly really just Torchwood, that I'm just like, I only rewatched this the once. I only watched this today because I was just like, I don't care enough about Torchwood anymore.
Well,
but I'm just like,
this is the last one we're
whatever.
doing for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Which means we wait at least over 4 months before we see why they decided not to kill him off at the end of the episode.
we've already covered that technically.
No.
Fragment's exit wounds is where he gets killed off.
No, but I meant why he's like,
right.
what they do with his undeath.
Yeah. Right.
Torture the audience.
Yeah. Okay, so that would be Matt, if I recall.
Yeah, I am
Yep.
up next then. So I really do think this is a really good episode. I'm perfectly fine with all the writing for the most part. I think the problem really does come with the execution. And even then, a lot of the execution is really good until like that last I don't even want to say quarter, like last 1/5 of the episode, where it's just like, ah, shoot. Just the visual effects suddenly don't have enough budget, and suddenly also, if you really do think in that direction, it could be a send off for Owen, but they don't go with it and kind of shoehorn away the big bad for the story, and it's just like, okay, I guess. What could have been like absolutely easy 5-star tier kind of takes a step back. That's my general thought of it.
All right, Bill.
All right, so yeah, this episode is very much a mixed bag. If anything, my issue was like narrowing down the things I disliked, and coming up with things that I liked about it in equal measures. That might be that this is just a case of like it needs a bit more cooking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind the visuals so much, especially since it's they. I think they did the best they could with what they had. Um, Unless you count the fact that for some fucking reason it's all Weevils as the visuals. I'm really wondering if the script was meant to be just like some random alien, and the
And Weevils just happen
producers
to
were
be on
just
hand
like,
easily.
yeah, the producers were like, yeah, best that best we can do is meme, except best we can do is Weevils. So yeah,
And
it's
don't expect explanations. Bye.
right. It's definitely does not hit the highs that it could, but it's not by any means an awful episode, just a flawed one. Um, and I guess that's about as much specific as I can say that I haven't already said.
Okay. My thoughts. For an episode that was relatively strong, right before it, this one comes off as a little bit lackadaisical. I don't know if the previous episode took all their budget and all of their time, but this episode was okay written. But the special effects were a little lacking. Why they had to make it Weevils, I don't know. It's like they were low on budget or low on time and had to make up for it. Like I said, it's a shame because the
Oh,
other episode was so good.
I think I just hit on an idea why.
Hmm.
Because they had Martha in. They had to spend extra budget on the actors.
True.
Could
Uh,
be.
I don't
That
know
very
though on
likely
how.
could be. It wouldn't be like necessarily all of the reasons, but
I
that
guess
definitely could be part of it.
I guess also this is a series where they brought in the actor who played Spike twice. So
Oh yeah, there's also that too. So this is a
Yeah,
season where they spend extra money on the
and he
extra
probably
actors for
cost a
this
bit more than Freema
season.
Agyeman.
Yeah.
yeah.
Freema might have just done it on a lark.
Maybe, but yeah, but still, she at least had some name to her at that point, at least for a little bit,
Well,
because of Doctor Who.
when she left Doctor Who, she went on to do Law and Order UK, which didn't go over that well.
Oh.
I'm just not sure if it was still running by the time.
Well, this would have been like the season after she was done, so.
No, it wouldn't have been because this was still between 3 and 4. She just finished. Or I mean, before she was done on Doctor Who. Then you're right.
Yeah,
So
yeah, she was
Law
done
and
on
Order
Doctor Who.
Law and Order UK started in 2009, so that would have been after Journey's End and everything.
Okay,
So she might have been like doing that one in between was doing this maybe.
Yeah, she was. This would have been. This would have filmed probably in 2007, and then aired in early 2008.
Right.
Yeah.
So they might have been like they are during her off season before she started her next show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's just like, yeah, I'll come in for the money, cause yeah.
Yeah.
I doubt she was getting paid much more than she was on Doctor Who.
At this point, since she started a major an ongoing role in Law and Order, she was probably doing like bit parts and cameos mostly. Let me see. She did 2 episodes of Survivor in 2008. Oh, she did a show called Little Dorrit that I have no idea what that is. And then that's it that she did between Doctor Who and Law and Order.
Okay. Yeah, she hadn't done anything at all between that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then she went on and did Bizarre ER, which I had never heard of. And then got picked up for Law and Order UK.
Why do I not see that on IMDb?
She was the narrator.
Ah.
So she wasn't really in it, she was just narrating. I have no idea what Bizarre ER is. It's She also
I mean, it sounds like it might just be a thing where it's like, here's some weird things that happen in real life.
Oh yeah,
she's just narrating over.
It's one of these things about.
Oh yeah, she appeared as self. She didn't appear as a character, or even as narrator, but she was self.
Yeah, that was more of a.
Now this has just turned into a SPAC search of free show right now.
No, it's one of those shows about miraculous survival stories from the ER. So yeah.
They're like, hey, you're not a doctor, but you played one on TV.
Yeah, so here we're basically doing the ER version of Rescue 911. You get to be William Shatner.
Oh my dear Lord, I'm looking at her IMDb right now. She was in that Matrix movie that just came out last year.
Yep.
Oh,
Let's
Jesus.
sigh.
I still haven't seen that.
She's in like the first half hour.
I've heard it's a hot mess, but that's only what I've heard. I can't say for myself for sure. But then again, the other Matrix sequels weren't very good either. And she's in a show called New Amsterdam, which she's been a part of since 2018. So she's at least got a show she's sticking to.
And she plays a doctor there too.
And she plays a doctor, yeah.
Anyway.
She might have been typecast, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway.
She's been typecast, and she's enjoying it now.
Was that the end of your thoughts?
No, you interrupted me. Okay, so the special effects kind of fell apart. Like I said, I don't know if it was because they had run over budget and the previous or next episode, or if they just didn't have enough time to complete. Because it could be that they were just at the end of their effects budget or their effects block, and they're like, we can't get this to work. For whatever reason. There was a reason that they switched production studios after Series 4. But regardless, it falls apart a little. Most of the acting's okay, but the last bit of script really kind of needed some clarification, reworking. It had some good points, like Owen talking to the kid, but yeah, the resolution was a little
Shoehorn.
short. They pass it off as this huge ass threat, and it's gone. Just a moment. Anyway, a bit anticlimactic. So yeah.
I'd like a to the cha-cha.
After the last one, it's just disappointing. All right, let's rate it because we're over time.
Alex.
God, this is one of those things where I'm realizing: do I think it's better than Reset? Probably, but do I think it's better enough to give it a higher rating? And I'm gonna have to say no, so I'm giving it a 4 as well.
Really? You think it's on the same par?
Or at least not good enough to go up. like
Mm.
a half thing.
All right, Matt.
I'm going to say it's a step down, and I'm going to also give it a 4.
Bill.
So meanwhile, I'm here debating how negative to be, whether it should be a 3.0 or a 3.5. I think enough things annoyed me, like nickel and diming my attitudes about the episode, to bring it just over the threshold down to a 3.0.
And I'm going to give it a 3.5. Which is a
Everybody
full...
needs a pooper. That's why they invited you.
No, he's the pooper.
Yeah.
I'm only 0.5 below Rand. That's not that bad.
By the way, can I say that it's also really fun to know that at least a handful of my coworkers also get my Team 4-star references? I start going
Anyway.
into my Super Kami Guru, and the
Ren is
couple of them
trying to
start
anyway
chuckling.
you.
That puts it at 260 out of 420 things reviewed. Yes, light it up. It is on par with nothing. It is better than Torchwood Small Worlds at a 3.5.
Oof.
And not as good as Sarah Jane Adventures The Gift at a 3.7. The next Torchwood that's better than it is... Sweet Lord. Dear Lord. Captain Jack Harkness at a 4.0. So there's a range.
That's a 0.4 range there. That's quite the little gap.
So again, 260 out of 420 things reviewed. That's all we have to say about Torchwood Dead Man Walking.
All right, please let us know in the comments. So, what do you think about Dead Man Walking? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe on YouTube to get our exports every week, or follow us on Twitch to get our streams every Tuesday night.
All right, so next week we jump over from Torchwood to the unofficial spin-off K9 as we do Sirens of Ceres, written by Deborah Parsings and starring John Leeson as K9, Keegan Joyce as Starkey, Philippa Coulthard as Georgie Turner, Daniel Weber as Darius Pike, and Robert Maloney as Alistair Griffin. We'll see you next week.
Oh, Mummy Moscato, I should have saved you for next week. There goes my bottle of wine.